The call came through dispatch around 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon that had started out quiet and routine. Disturbance at a convenience store on Maple Street. Just another call on what I thought would be an ordinary shift. When I pulled up the curb, I could hear the shouting before I even got out of my patrol car. The sound carried across the parking lot, angry and sharp, cutting through the humid air. Outside the store, a middle-aged man in a stained apron stood over someone huddled on the hot pavement. The store owner, Marcus Chun, was red-faced and screaming, his voice hoarse from the effort. The man on the ground was maybe 60 years old, wearing layers of tattered clothing despite the warm weather. His face was weathered and lined, marked by years of hardship I could only imagine. He had his arms wrapped around himself protectively, trying to make himself smaller, invisible. "You're what's wrong with everything," Marcus was yelling, his finger jabbing downward accusingly. "People like you, just taking, always taking. You think you could just walk in here and steal from me?" I approached quickly, my boots hitting the pavement with purpose, holding up my hands in what I hoped was a calming gesture. "Sir, I need you to step back and calm down." Marcus barely glanced at me. He kept going, his voice getting louder, angrier, more venomous with each word. Then he said something I won't repeat here, a slur that made my jaw tighten and my hands clench at my sides. The man on the ground flinched like he'd been physically struck, his shoulders hunching even further. "That's enough," I said firmly, putting authority into my voice. "Let me handle the situation. I need to go back inside your store right now." Marcus turned to face me fully now, his eyes narrowing with suspicion and contempt. "Oh, I see how it is. You're one of those bleeding hearts, aren't you? Defending people like him? Typical." I kept my voice level and professional, though my patience was wearing thin. "Sir, go inside. Now, or you're gonna find yourself in handcuffs for interfering with an investigation." Maybe threatening him was the wrong move. His face twisted into something ugly and dangerous, and he started advancing toward me with deliberate steps. "You'll arrest me? For what? You government thug. You think you can intimidate me? I pay your salary." I stood my ground, my hand moving instinctively closer to my belt. "One more step, one more word, and yes, you absolutely will be arrested." He looked at me for a long, tense moment. The air between us felt electric with confrontation. Then, faster than I expected from a man his size, he reached out and swatted my hat off my head. It hit the pavement and rolled into a dirty puddle near the curb. Before I could react or reach for him, Marcus turned and sprinted back into his store with surprising speed. I heard the deadbolt click loudly from inside, followed by silence. I radioed for backup while checking on a homeless man, whose name turned out to be Robert. He was shaking violently, kept apologizing even though he hadn't done anything wrong. His voice was barely audible. "I was just so hungry," he whispered, his eyes wet with tears. "It was just bread, just one loaf of bread." 2 units arrived within minutes, their sirens cutting through the afternoon quiet. We spent 20 minutes trying to coax Marcus out, alternating between reasonable requests and stern warnings. He finally emerged, still defiant, still convinced he was the victim in all this, still muttering about his rights. He was charged with assault on an officer and disorderly conduct. The judge gave him 5 years, though he only served 18 months before being released on parole. Robert, the man who'd been desperate enough to take a loaf of bread to survive another day, walked away without charges. I made sure of that. I also made sure he got connected with social services that same day and followed up to ensure he received the help he needed. Sometimes this job shows you the worst in people, the ugliness that lurks beneath civilized surfaces, but it also reminds you why we were the badge in the first place. To stand between the vulnerable and those who'd harm them, even over something as small as bread. If you've got stories about times you stood up for what was right, even when it was uncomfortable, drop them in the comments below. And if this story meant something to you, hit that subscribe button. These are the real stories that need to be told.